When our initial system of government was set up by our founding fathers, they had a vision of citizen representatives. The founders expected that someone would decide to serve. They'd first win an election and then spend his term representing the constituents back home. After which he'd return home when the term ends and would go back to the farm or to their jobs. Today, a representative will win an election, go to Washington, spend their entire term fundraising to try to win the next election. Should they win that term, they continue fundraising in order to stay in office for a long career. So rather than paying attention to the needs of the constituents or our country as a whole, our elected officials' efforts are spent working to keep their careers alive. Unlike the past, today it's rare if our representatives do not start out as lawyers. They almost all start out with some sort of legal education. And lawyers, in my opinion, are a special breed. My experience is that something happens to people when they survive law school and pass their bar exam. They grow up differently. I liken this to what happens while succeeding in law to stepping on a sapling. If the tree survives and thrives, yes, it'll still grow up, but it'll grow up just a little bit bent. The same holds true for lawyers. They'll never be able to see the world as they did before becoming a lawyer. The same also holds true for politicians once they learn how to become a career politician. They simply see the world differently, and from that point on, they will grow up a little more slanted and just a little bit bent. They'll always see things as a politician. Now, if you combine the two, since most politicians are lawyers, the problem is increased exponentially, kind of like the sapling, only 3 times as bent. To me, this explains why the halls of Capitol building and Congress and so on, and even the White House are filled with public servants out of touch with whom they're supposed to be serving. So much of what goes on in Washington affects you and me.